Welcome. We're cracking the code to handling conflict. And this session is Digging Deeper During Disagreements, where we'll focus on resolving conflicts from beginning to end.
Now, you already know the speaking skill called expressing yourself, and you also know the listening skill, listening with empathy, and you'll be using both of those skills as you resolve a conflict.
So turn in your workbooks to Digging Deeper During Disagreements. We'll start with a verse from Scripture in Philippians. Do not merely look out for your own personal interests, but also for the interests of others. When we're in conflict, we're usually looking out for number one, right? Isn't that who we're thinking about when we're mad? And this verse reminds us to prioritize differently. Listening with empathy helps you to do that. This session will help you to do it even more in conflict.
Now, we want you to know that there are two parts to resolving problems, to resolving a conflict. Part one is having a couple talk. Having a couple talk, and that's where you'll be expressing all your feelings, concerns, and desires about the problem. And your partner will be listening with empathy to you, and vice versa. But you won't be talking about solutions yet when you have a couple talk.
Why no solutions? Because too often couples start a conflict discussion by each arguing for their point of view, for what they want. They take a stance and they dig in their heels. They're going to get their way. So there are two notes. First, go deeper during your couple talk. Think of an iceberg. Most of an iceberg is underwater. I think it's 85 to 90% of the mass of an iceberg is underwater. You can't see it. In the same way, if you stay on the surface when you're discussing a problem and you move too quickly to a solution, your solution will not be satisfying because it's only going to take into account that part that was on the surface and not that maybe it's 85 or 90% that was not included in that solution. So take your time to go deeper in your dialogue.
And then sometimes a couple talk is just all that is needed. And the idea here is that some problems are solved just by understanding each other more deeply. So when you express your thoughts and feelings and concerns and desires and your partner's listening with empathy and you're both doing that, you understand yourselves in a deeper way, you understand each other in a deeper way, differences fade away, and that sometimes the differences that are there still don't bother you as much.
So if a solution is needed, then when both of you are ready, then you move to part two, which is finding the win-win-win. And that'll be covered in the next session, and it's very practical. If there's a decision to be made, a new behavior for someone to undertake, need to create a solution, that's when we'll move to part two.
Okay, now in your workbooks, turn to Steps for Digging Deeper During Disagreements.
Step one is pray about it first. Rely on the Holy Spirit to help you to be honest and compassionate. Ask for His guidance. In 1 Peter, it says, give all your worries and cares to God, for He cares for you. Let's do this together now. Let's ask for God's help as we work through a minor conflict exercise. Will you pray with me? Lord, as we do this exercise and bring up conflict and ways to deal with it, we need your help. We ask that you touch our hearts and our minds and help us to set aside our own patterns and our own point of view and be willing to be gracious and kind to our partner. Help us to communicate well, and we just ask for your touch as we learn how to resolve conflict and actually resolve a specific conflict today. In Jesus' name, amen.
Step 2, think before you speak. And what are you to think about? Think about what's good about your partner's position, about your partner's point of view. And in your workbook, you will see a familiar chart. We've already used one of these in a previous session, and it's called A Good I See in Your Position.
We have two things for you to do. We're going to begin working on a minor problem topic. First, between the two of you, choose a minor problem topic. If you each brought a topic, choose one. And the topic needs to be big enough to be a real issue between you, a real conflict topic, but not so big that it has many layers of feeling around it.
In your workbook, you'll see that there's a list of common topics. They're difference topics. Things like minor annoyances, like should the toilet seat be up or down? Mm-hmm. It could be one is maybe more organized, the other is less organized. It could be an annoyance like being interrupted when you're doing something or watching something. So we have that list of common topics for you to choose from if you haven't yet chosen a topic.
So agree on one topic. Then, in your own workbook, without your partner seeing, write the issue down in neutral terms.
And you'll write it down in that box, a good I see in your position.
And remember, if you can't find a good right now, you can write something you appreciate about your partner or you appreciate about the relationship itself.
So we'll give you a couple of minutes to do those two things. Pick a topic and then write a good you see in your partner's position.
Ready to go.
Go ahead and talk to your partner. Turn back to the video. It's time to start again.
Okay, so now step 3 is make an appointment for a couple talk using a soft approach. In couple talk, when you approach your partner to agree on a time and place to schedule a couple talk, remember that's one of the steps of having a couple talk, we want you to use a soft approach. And it involves two things. One is don't blame. Speak from your own point of view and don't use those blaming words. Don't use those trigger words. Example is, I'd like to talk about something that concerns me, about how the chores are being done around the house. Now, isn't that a lot different than, I want to talk about how you're so lazy. And the second point is don't push. Don't push. And what we mean by that is it may not be the best time for your partner to stop and have a couple talk right then. So if you're one of those like me who wants to talk right then, be patient. So don't push your partner, just approach them to ask to schedule a time to have a couple talk.
To practice this softer way of approaching your partner to ask for a couple talk, we have two quick exercises. Practice one is called, You Spent How Much? This is Fluffy. And wives, you brought Fluffy with you into the marriage, the cutest little dog you can ever imagine. And she deserves good things, doesn't she? Husbands, Fluffy costs you a lot of money. Vet bills, groomers, and gourmet dog food. And you don't even like dogs. So here's the scenario, and this will be an exercise where you will practice a soft startup. And husbands, gentlemen, you're going to be the ones to practice first. Don't worry, they'll have an exercise after this where the ladies will have to craft a soft startup. The scenario is you just saw the credit card bill for Fluffy's day at the dog spa, and you're irritated and you want to talk about this. She is sitting on the couch cuddling Fluffy, and she starts the dialogue by saying, "Honey, don't you love Fluffy's new bow?" So that's the exercise, and in a moment we'll have the ladies start that exercise by saying that line. Husbands, as you craft your soft startup, don't blame, don't push. You're not resolving the issue here. You're doing the request for a dialogue. You're doing a soft startup. So you'll ask for a time to talk. You'll tell her what the issue is in a reassuring way. All right? So men, you understand what to do? Soft startup. Ladies, turn toward your husband. You can leave your chairs where they're at, but just turn toward your husband. Stroke Fluffy because she's in your lap and she's doing beautiful. And say, "Honey, don't you like the new bow? Don't you like Fluffy's new bow?" Ready, go.
Turn and talk to your partner.
All right, let me stop you. Fellas, I'd like to hear from the gentleman. What did you say? How did you put together a soft approach to bring up this topic to your wife? Lee.
I acknowledged, just saying, "Oh, the bow looks really great." I saw the bill for the shop he went to. I was wondering if we could talk about that real quick.
Okay.
Great.
That was pretty good. Yeah, that was neutral, didn't attack,
Right.
didn't blame, didn't push. So let's flip it. And now, ladies, it's going to be your turn to create a soft approach. Here's the scenario. Husbands, you're picking your wife up to take her to her company party. She's probably going to be really happy that you took time to stop and have the car washed. Wives, your husband is late again for the umpteenth time. It means you're going to be late to the company party again. It's making you look bad to your boss and to others. You're angry and you want to schedule a couple talk to talk about it. Okay? So the scenario is that he's just arrived home and ready for you to join him in the car, and he starts the dialogue by saying, "Ready for the party? Hey, did you notice how nice the car looks?" And wives, your job is to ask for an appointment. No blaming, no pushing. All right? Take a minute to do that. Ready, go.
Go ahead and talk to your partner.
Okay, I got to pull you all back together. And ladies, I'd like to hear from you. We'd like to hear, how did you make a soft approach to talk with your husband when you were so frustrated? Okay. Can I hear some examples? Sarah.
I had a similar issue. I said, I'm concerned about you being late, and he thought, well, you're not supposed to say you. So can I say you at all? Does an I statement include anything that you did?
Yeah.
Can it? Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Right, we can't pretend it was somebody else who was late.
Okay.
So for instance, if Don is leaving his socks all over the floor and I'm frustrated about it, I can't say, oh, there's some socks over there that I'm frustrated about, I wonder what we'll do. And so I get to say you, but I don't use the judging and blaming words. So I say, I've noticed you've left your socks on the floor and I've been getting frustrated about it and I'd like to have a couple talk about it. And so it doesn't start with the you attack. We just describe what his behavior is without blaming. Yeah, great question. Yeah. So now we'd like you to turn in your workbook to practice the exercise, make an appointment using a soft approach. And what you'll do is practice a soft approach using the topic that you're going to discuss in this session. So you already have narrowed down to one topic. And the person who chose the conflict topic that you're going to discuss will create a soft approach. So remember, don't blame, don't use those trigger words, those judgmental words, and have an attitude of we'll get through this. And then also, don't push. Make this soft approach a request. Is now a good time? Now, of course, your partner is going to say yes because we're in this session and you're going to be discussing it. But include that so you get practice using that.
That's right. So you'll have a minute to ask for a couple talk. The one who picks the topic does the soft approach. Ready? Go.
Turn and talk to your partner.
Okay, now we'd like you to look at your workbook and there's a question that we ask there. What if your partner used a soft approach the next time they had an issue they wanted to discuss with you? How would that change things? So just take a moment to write your answer to that in your workbook.
On your own, complete the quick debrief.
Okay, now we'd like you to talk to your partner. How did you respond to that question? Do you think the soft approach will help? Talk to your partner about it. We'll give you a minute for that. Go.
Turn and talk to your partner about this exercise.
We're now ready to have a couple talk on a minor problem.
So turn to your exercise, couple talk on a minor problem using prompts. And the purpose of this is to practice having a couple talk on your first conflict issue, and you will be using the prompts there to help you get started and go through the process in this very first experience. So follow the set of prompts and express yourself in something like 30-second chunks. Remember that your partner's doing a difficult job of listening, and they're going to want to summarize back with empathy. So just think about shorter statements, briefer amounts of time of expressing yourself. And if you're listening with empathy, if you're in that role, you can just do this little inch signal to your partner that you need to have a chance to summarize back with empathy what they had just expressed. So that's the way that you'll work that out. And the expressor, the one who will pick up the expression stick, is the person who picked the problem topic, okay? And their partner will be the listener. So to demonstrate this, we're going to first get an expression stick, and Don will be the expressor.
And for our demonstration, we're going to use a topic from the video you saw in the very, very first session with that couple who had a conflict about a credit card bill. So Alex and I will use that to be the topic that we model the process. But we want you to focus on the steps in the dialogue and the way that the expression stick is used. Okay? Alex, I'd like to talk about a concern I have about the credit card charge. But I also want to acknowledge first that I know you're really careful with money. You do a lot to watch out for our budget. I know you use coupons when you go to the grocery store, and I really appreciate that you do work on watching our expenses.
As Don, I want to talk to you about something that's a frustration, and it's the credit card bill. And I want to acknowledge that you do work hard to save money, Alex, and you clip coupons and you shop carefully. So I want to make sure that I start with that I appreciate that about you.
Yeah. And the way I see this issue is our budget is out of control. And we're really in a bad spot financially. We're not making ends meet every month.
As Don, I see this issue as something really important because we're not making our bills. It's out of control. So there's a real financial problem here.
And when I think about this, I feel overwhelmed. I feel pretty discouraged about where we're at.
As Don, the feelings I have are, feeling overwhelmed and discouraged that we could maybe even ever get out of this debt. So it feels kind of hopeless.
And a desire that goes with this for me is that I guess I'd really like to feel like we're on the same page, like we're working together to, row the same direction.
So as Don, a desire I have is to partner with you, to feel together on this, to work together on this issue so that we could come up with something that might work for us.
Yeah, you got it. Now I'd like to hear what you have to say. Okay, now it's your turn. When you use the prompts in your workbook, we'll signal at the halfway point. We'll signal when there's 1 minute left. The music will come up at the very end when it's time to come back to the group. So turn your chairs so you're facing each other knee to knee, and ready, go.
Turn your chairs so you're knee to knee with your partner and begin the exercise.
You're halfway done. If you haven't already done so, it's time to switch roles.
Start wrapping it up. There's 1 minute remaining. Turn back to the video. Don and Alex are getting ready to start.
Now we're right in the middle of the dialogue you're having about that. I'm sure we probably stopped you kind of in the middle of what you were doing, but we're going to come back to it.
At this point, what we wanted to do was teach you a helpful signal for use when you're in the middle of a couple talk and something goes off kilter, someone goes off track. So perhaps it's, could you get the expression stick?
Sure.
So perhaps Don is expressing and he's telling me about his point of view, and I don't say, and it's my job to be the listener, but I say, well, you know, I actually disagree with you, Don, and I don't like that idea. What can he do to get us back on track?
Because she didn't give me empathy. She started talking about her own point of view.
Well, instead of him saying, there you go again.
Forget this, man.
Right.
I tried talking to you.
So if I mess up on my role, if I don't listen with empathy and I start speaking from my own point of view, he can give me a quick signal to get me back on track.
Okay. We call it a coaching signal, and the one that we use, and we'd like you to use in the class as you're starting with, is just a simple upraised hand.
So if your partner gives you the signal, just check yourself quickly. Wait, what was I supposed to be doing? Do I have the stick anywhere in my hands? Okay, if not, I am the listener. And so was I listening with empathy and listening and summarizing back with empathy? And get back on track doing that if that was the problem. Or if you were the expressor and your partner gives you the signal, check yourself. Did you just say a trigger word? Maybe you need to do a redo on that. So it's a quick way to get back on track without anyone taking it off track into accusations or other negativity. And there's one more thing. If your partner gives you a signal and you didn't know what you did wrong, what your partner can do is very graciously explain what they think went wrong. So
I wanted you to give me empathy first, and then you'll have a turn to tell me what you think.
So there's an example of him giving me coaching on that.
So it's a quick nonverbal way to stay on track. The next exercise, going deeper, its purpose is to continue on with the couple talk that you had, go deeper in your dialogue, take more time with it, and practice switching roles as often as you can. We are hoping that in these dialogues you're offering to give your partner a turn to be the expressor, offering the expression stick, and we hope that there will be times where you ask non-verbally, as Alex has shown, I'd like to have a turn to be the expressor.
So in your workbook, we've provided some prompts to help you dig a little deeper on this topic that you're discussing and to get below the surface of the problem. So when you are the expressor, you can choose the prompts that seem relevant or useful to you in your workbook. And remember to express yourself in about 30-second chunks to then let your partner summarize back with empathy. So to begin this couple talk, or this part of the couple talk, a good way to begin is one of those prompts that's in your workbook. It says, what's important to me about this issue is, and name it. Name what was important to you about the issue. And then say, because, and talk a little bit more. And then let your partner summarize back with empathy.
You don't have to use all those prompts or even any of them, but they're there for you if they fit in your dialogue, just to get you started. Give you a little help down the road. You start the sentence with the prompt and then go on and tell what's true for you. All right, so we'll go ahead and start. Go ahead and turn your chairs facing each other knee to knee. We'll let you know when you're halfway, and then again when there's a minute left, and when the music comes up, that'll be the time to come back to the group. Ready, go.
Get knee to knee with each other and start the exercise.
You're halfway there. This is the final minute, so begin wrapping it up.
Time to return to the group. We're getting ready to start up again.
Go ahead and turn in your workbook and take a minute to answer the question, was this the first time you discussed this topic? If yes, answer the question next to that. If no, answer that question. Second, we'd like you to write some notes that you want to remember about your partner's point of view. Were there some things they told you that was important to them? Some feelings or concerns or desires? And write them down in the place provided, and this will help you in the next session. So take a few moments now to do both of those things.
Now take a moment to yourself and fill in the debrief section of your workbook. Turn back to the video. We're getting ready to start.
So how did it go? Callie?
Yeah, so we've talked about this before, and this time I was able to really sympathize with his feelings about the topic, and I actually started to feel how he feels about it.
Yes.
I mean, his like emotions behind it. Like I started to feel those emotions to the conflict as well.
Nice, yeah. And other times you hadn't had that experience, even though you talked about it before. Yeah, good, good.
Yeah, that's empathy. That's what that listening with empathy will do, and that's what that I form of listening with empathy will do. It helps you really step into your partner's world enough to even begin to feel their feelings, so that's beautiful.
It makes your partner go, yes.
Okay, now we'd like to ask you to just talk to your partner for a couple of minutes about what this overall experience was like. Remember, you started off with the prompts that led you through the beginning of this couple talk, and then we let you go deeper. So go ahead and talk about the overall experience with your partner now.
Turn and talk to your partner about how this exercise was for you. Turn back to the video. It's time to start again.
Now let's turn to cracking the code to handling conflict by digging deeper during disagreements. Some important things to remember from this session. Number one, pray first. Ask God to help. Number two, think about what's good about your partner's position. And if you can't find something there, something good about your relationship or about your partner. Number three, use a soft approach to ask for an appointment to have a couple talk. And cracking the code in everyday life. Dialogues go deeper gradually. This happens when both partners feel safe. So when you have a complaint or you're frustrated with your partner, remember those couple talk values. Remember them all the time. Be open and honest. Be caring and compassionate. And be committed to each other and to using the skills.
And finally, if there's some leftover hurt or negative feelings that you have after a couple talk, or if your couple talk gets interrupted because you have to get to work or life gets in the way, use those reconnection statements from the previous session. And there are things that will help you reconnect and help get through those negative feelings or those negative leftover feelings.
Now we'd like for you to do that old favorite exercise, partner appreciations. That's where each of you will give an appreciation, something you admire, something special about your partner, something they've done for you recently, and you'll tell them, and they will summarize back to you with empathy using the you form. Then they'll give you an appreciation, and you'll do the same. So to do that exercise, we'll have you turn your chairs so that you're facing each other knee to knee. So go ahead and turn your chairs and give your partners an appreciation.
Turn knee to knee with your partner and start the exercise.
You're halfway done. If you haven't done so already, it's time to switch roles. Turn back to the video. Don and Alex are getting ready to start.
Now remember, there's two parts to resolving a problem. And you have just completed the first part, which is digging deeper during disagreements.
Next session will be finding the win-win-win. Very practical steps to finding solutions to what you talked about in this class. Even if you think you've identified a solution, there's lots to learn next session. Learning about implementing that solution, or maybe even finding something better. You might be surprised at what you find. So we'll see you next session, finding the win-win-win.